Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for the latest GoSkills Challenge solution. How did you do? Well, we're about to find out. Our Excel expert Claudia Buckley has her solution to share. Give it a look and see if yours matches up.
Ready to work on this month's challenge? To recap, we want to be able to apply some kind of filter so that we'll only see the invoice amounts for specific months or payment terms. As it is right now, you might be thinking, let's just use a regular filter. So if we wanted to see non-blanks for the month of May, and if we wanted to see only end of month payment requirements, then we have these two, Infotech and Moxie Marketing. And of course, if we forget what month filter was applied, we could always look for that little filter icon and see that there's one for May and there's one for payment terms. And maybe that's all you want. But perhaps you don't like the fact that the sheet still looks a little busy with all the other months and the data for those months showing up. So I'm going to jump to my preferred method for working on something like this. All right, I'll unfilter my table and unfilter here too. All right. So what method did I use? Well, I used Power Query. For that, just go to the Data tab and click from Table or Range. And that brings up the Power Query editor. Now, what we're aiming to do is to change the format of the data so that we're able to filter by month. Since filters in Excel are applied vertically, they won't work for the months because they're displayed horizontally. The list goes across from left to right. So what we need to do is to unpivot. And honestly, this is one of the things I love most about Power Query. Here's how it works. The idea is to place the name of the month next to each expense occurrence. So basically, it's going to expand or unpivot the table. Now, we only want to do that for the columns that have expenses. We don't need to unpivot the first or second columns because we only want to make sure that every time an expense value, like here, is displayed, the name of that month shows up right next to it. So the easiest way to do that, we want to select the first two columns. We can just Control and click to select them both, and then go to Transform. And using this Unpivot Columns dropdown, I want to say unpivot the other columns. So what do we have here? All right, first, if you look at ABC Printing and Publishing, you'll see that there are now 8 rows of data. One of them is the total. That's this one right here. So that means there were 7 months where we received invoices from them, and the total row shows the total amount that was spent. We'll come back to the total row later. But this column shows the month of each invoice, which is kind of what we want. Power Query creates it as a new column that's now called Attribute by default, so we can change that name. Let's call it Month. I just double-clicked here and type Month and Enter. And now take a look over here to the right. The steps are listed in the order that they were applied. So if I click on the first one, this was what my source data looked like. Power Query automatically changed the type. You can see here that it changed the type of the data here from ABC123 to text. And it records that I unpivoted the other columns, and then I renamed a column. Pretty cool. All right, so what this allows us to do is to be able to go back to what the data looked like before. We can remove a step, add a step, start over, and so on. Now, if we like what we see, then we can close the Power Query editor and load it to our workbook. So I'm just going to go to Home, Close, and Load. And a new worksheet will be created. And on our new worksheet, as usual, we can apply whatever filters we want. We can use manual filters the way we did before. So if we want to see July and end of month, then we have these two here, right? Pretty cool. All right, I can unfilter. I can also use advanced filters or interactive slicers, which are also Pretty nice. But remember we mentioned that the total rows are showing up. Now maybe you don't want to see that, all right? So let's deselect. And here we have a bunch of total rows, and maybe you don't want to see that. If we don't like the fact that this total row is there, we can always go back into the Power Query editor by going to Query, click Edit, and that total column was all the way to the end of our data set. And maybe we don't want it there at all. We can always start over. Let's just go back. Here's our source data. We want to remove this column. Right-click, Remove. And again, we just want to unpivot this data. So we go to Transform, Unpivot Other Columns, Rename, Close and Load. All right, so now it's pretty easy to do what we want done. Let's say we wanted to filter interactively, maybe by payment terms and by month. So we can create these slicers. And if we wanted to see invoices that are needed for the month of June where payment in advance is required, we can use our slicers to do that. Now, I really love this unpivot feature of Power Query. If you're using a Mac, the Power Query editor is only available in the Insiders beta channel for Microsoft 365. So we are getting closer to a similar experience for everyone. But if you aren't on the Insiders beta channel, how did you handle this challenge? Maybe you're using Windows and you handled it some other way. We'd really like to know about it. Share your solution in the comments below or on our Slack channel. See you next time.
So there it is. Did you get the same results? Did you use the same approach? Or did you try something different? We'd like to know. Share your take on the challenge in the comments below or join us for more discussion in our Slack channel. Link in the description. Thanks for participating, and make sure to subscribe to this channel to get an alert when the next challenge is released. We'll see you then.